Well, yesterday, after a long day of work, I finally got home a little bit into the evening, and I sat down at the computer to check emails like I normally do at the end of the day. It just happened to be a little bit longer day than usual. And I had emails from a couple of people, and at first I thought it was just a joke, but it turned out not to be a joke. And I had several people that had emailed me asking me if I was aware of the fact that Lynn Wood had posted some things online, either implying or overtly stating that I'm a Freemason, which is quite ironic considering I'm probably the only pastor in America that regularly preaches against the evils of Freemasonry. I put out the series probably a couple of years ago on Freemasonry. It's one of the most in-depth surveys of Freemasonry and why it's evil that's probably available anywhere online. And it's interesting that a couple of weeks ago I had the impression that some other people were telling Lynn that I seemed like I must be a Freemason. And so I thought that they were attacking Lynn because they believed I was a Freemason and because of his friendship with me. However, apparently I misunderstood the story, and apparently it was Lynn himself who was trying to imply, even going back a couple of weeks ago, that Pastor Ray McBarry was a Freemason. Well, I'll get to the short answer of that in just a moment, but it started a couple of weeks ago when I was preaching a message at church, and I was preaching in part against the evil influences of Zionism in America, in our country, and around the world. And I mentioned the fact that there was only one member of Congress who had refused to take funds from AIPAC, which is the Zionist State of Israel lobbying arm here in the States. And his name is Congressman Massie from Kentucky. Well, I said some good things about Congressman Massie because he was the only congressman who had refused to take funds from AIPAC, and he made it a point to let the media and his constituents know that he didn't think any congressman should take those funds, and he had refused them. And then subsequently, when the new administration came into office, they sent orders down to the House of Representatives that Congressman Massie was to have all of his assignments stripped away from him there in the House. Well, what I did not know at the time was that in spite of the fact that he did something good by refusing AIPAC funds, he's also a member of DMLA. If you're not familiar with what DMLA is, it's a branch of Freemasonry. It's really the recruiting arm of Freemasonry to try to recruit young men into Freemasonry before they actually come of age and become grown men. And of course, Congressman Massie is a grown man, so I have no idea how their organization works or why he is still a member of DMLA, which is ostensibly an organization for young men in their teenage years. But apparently, because he's a member of DMLA and I said something positive about him refusing AIPAC funds, there were some people who took offense to that and assumed that I was intentionally promoting a Freemason who's in Congress, which is nothing further from the truth. I did not know that he was a member of DMLA nor any other branch of Freemasonry, and had I known that, I certainly would not have said anything good to promote him, or at least I would have caveated that with the fact that he's still a member of DMLA, which is a branch of Freemasonry. But I did not know that at the time. Fortunately, I had one of our church members who, in the right way and in a kind way, came and asked me, "Pastor, did you know he was a member of DMLA? Somebody posted that online." And I responded, "Well, no, I sure didn't know that. That's awfully disappointing. I thought I had actually found one up there that might actually be good. He has a good record on his voting on a lot of other things that I was aware of, And when I found out that he refused to take money from the Zionists, well, I assumed he must be maybe the only one up there that could be trusted and relied upon. Well, no, I did not know he was a member of DMLA. And in the sermon that I brought this past Sunday, which no one online has heard yet because the sermon that I preach one week is not posted until the following week, because I'm one of those preachers, I have steadfastly, at least up to this point, refused to do any live streaming of our services because I like for all of our folks that are able to attend in person and get what God intends for them to get out of a local church. And I don't want people staying home and watching church in their pajamas because it's more convenient. So all of our church services are posted a week after I've actually preached them. Well, what those people didn't know, and apparently what Lynn didn't know, is I made a point from the pulpit this past Sunday to acknowledge the fact that I did not know that Congressman Massie was a member of DMLA, that I do not promote that, nor any other secret society or branch of Freemasonry. And to the average person, they probably would say, what does it matter anyway? Well, your pastor understands that it is a big deal. I have been preaching against the evils of Freemasonry for 25 years. In fact, I've been preaching and speaking against Freemasonry longer than Lynn Wood has even known Christ. I've been doing that for half of my adult life, and I'm over 50 years old now. I have lost friends over the fact that I preach and speak out against the evils of Freemasonry. But that was what led Lynn to begin leading people to believe that, well, I must either be friendly with the Freemasons or I must be a Freemason perhaps. But in the sarcastic way that Lynn does things, he'll throw things out there as a question and then make a snide comment underneath it, implying that it must be true. Well, I didn't know any of that at the time. In fact, I didn't know any of that until yesterday when I was a little bit blindsided by the accusation. But in addition to the comment where I said something good about Congressman Massie, the additional proofs that were presented that I must be a Freemason, the first one had to do with a photograph that was taken of me about 15 years ago of me shaking hands with another man, and to this day I have no idea if that gentleman is a Freemason or not a Freemason. I have no idea. But in that photograph that is online, Lynn was implying that my handshake with the fella in the picture, we were posing for a picture together, that was a Masonic handshake. Well, I'm going to just have to say that for anyone who has seen the 5-part extensive video series that I did online several years ago on Freemasonry, I plainly show the sketches by the Freemasons themselves of what a Freemason handshake is supposed to look like. There are different kinds of Freemason handshakes, but as far as a regular handshake grip, like we use most of the time, in order for it to be a Freemasonic handshake, the thumb of whoever's shaking hands must be on or about the knuckles or in between the knuckles of the other person. They're either on the knuckle or right adjacent to the knuckle. For most of us, if you saw two Masons shaking hand that way, it would look very awkward, very strange, almost like the way that in the 19th century a man would shake the hand or take the hand of a lady if he was going to kiss her hand. That's the awkward way that those handshakes look, because you're intentionally putting your thumb on or between the knuckles to indicate what degree of Mason you are, and then of course the other Mason reciprocates with your knuckles to let you know what degree of Mason he is in the Blue Lodge. lodge. Interestingly, the photo that was posted 15 years ago and still online of me shaking hands with this gentleman, they claimed I was carrying on a Freemasonic handshake with the gentleman when nothing could be further from the truth. Because if you've seen those videos and you've seen the sketches out of the Freemason handbook that I include in that video series, you plainly see that the handshake that I have with the gentleman in the picture is not a Masonic handshake whatsoever. I'm shaking hands the same way that a normal person would shake hands. My thumb is not down near the man's knuckles, but rather my thumb is way up here like it would normally be if you're shaking hands with somebody, the way any man would shake hands. One side note to that is, I guess in the picture, my thumb looks a little different than some people's thumbs because the way God made me when I was born, I have what some people call a hook-billed thumb. My thumb curves way back. So when I'm shaking hands, my thumb looks like it's curved, whether I'm trying to curve it or not. It's just the way God made me. Now, when I was a boy growing up, it came in real handy for playing thumb war with people because with my hook-billed thumb, it was almost impossible for anybody to beat me in that. I won almost all the time. But that was not a Freemasonic handshake. So anyone who has seen the video series I've done, or you're familiar with Freemasonry handshakes, you know that I was not making a Masonic handshake. So anyone who would portray that that was a Freemasonic handshake is one of two things. They're either ignorant of what a Masonic handshake looks like, in which case they should have watched my series, or number two, they are being intentionally disingenuous and trying to imply something or overtly state something that is false. And I will leave it to the viewer to decide which of those two motives might have been the case in this instance. But either one of those is the case. It was not a Freemasonic handshake. Then there was another proof that was put out there by Lynn Wood to substantiate the claim that I'm a Freemason and our church is somehow associated with Freemasonry, I guess because of me being the pastor. And that is that on the new church website that we have a new logo that's there in the header of the new website. It is a cross on a mountaintop. And the reason, of course, is because the name of our church is Pinnacle Baptist Church. And so the theme verse for our church has always been, for the whole lifetime of our church, Colossians 1:18, which says that in all things he, that is Christ, might have the preeminence. And so what we teach and preach at Pinnacle Baptist Church is that if you want to have the pinnacle of your Christian life, you ought to make Christ preeminent in your life. He ought to get the glory above everything. And so anyway, that logo, the newly designed logo that's on our new website, Lynn posted something saying that, well, yeah, it looks like a cross on a mountaintop, but if you flip it upside down, it looks like it could be the outline of a Masonic apron. And of course, Masons do wear craftsman-type aprons when they go into the lodge for their meetings and different rituals that they have. And I talk about that in the series I did several years ago also. However, first of all, we redid the website because we have thousands of people every week. They go to our website and they take the online Bible studies as well as listening to sermons. And so it's just a valuable resource for people. And some people were having trouble finding certain things they were looking for on the website. And the reality is it had not been updated in over 10 years when we started the church. And so consequently, we had the website redesigned, and the pastor was involved with that myself to try to make things easier for people to navigate. And the reality is it's much easier to find things now with the new design of the website, and it loads in your browser or on your mobile app, your mobile phone a lot faster too. So it's a much better website. But that logo was actually designed by the wife of one of our missionaries at the church who visited our church recently. We took them on for monthly support. They are church planting missionaries in Africa. And we took them on for support, and out of kindness to the church and wanting to show their gratitude and appreciation, this lady she does graphic design work, or that's what she did before God called them into full-time work as missionaries. She offered to do that. In fact, I didn't know she was doing it. She did it and just sent it to us and said, if you can use this anywhere, please feel free to use it. And it went well with the new design of the website. I figured, hey, we'll put something up there different for a while. At least it's something fresh, looks different than what we've been using. This dear lady is not related to Freemasonry in any way. Her husband's not connected to Freemasonry in any way. And to be honest with you, this dear lady probably does not even know what Freemasonry is or the significance of it. She was just doing something kind for our church. It's a cross on the top of a mountain. And in order to make it look even remotely similar to a Freemasonic apron, you would have to turn the logo upside down, which it's not upside down on our website. But apparently, Lynn posted the logo and the logo turned upside down and said something to the implication that this looks like a Freemasonic apron. Well, it's not a Freemasonic apron. It's a cross on top of a mountain, and it's enclosed with a box because it's intended to be used as a logo on our different printed materials and on the website. Pure silliness. Now, I'm going to say this unequivocally so that there can be no room for misunderstanding. I am not now, nor have I ever been, nor will I ever be a member of any branch of Freemasonry or any other secret society. I preach vehemently against those things. They are part of Mystery Babylon. I preach against Mystery Babylon and all of its iterations, including Freemasonry, Kabbalism, Zionism, and all those other isms and schisms that go with Mystery Babylon. I'm a Bible-believing Baptist preacher. That's all I am. I'm not a member of any secret society. And so the accusation itself is, at first point, is just silly. I'm not a Mason, never have been a Mason. I don't defend Masons, at least not knowingly. And I speak against them on a regular basis. As I've said already, to the best of my knowledge, I'm the only pastor in America who regularly speaks against the evils of Freemasonry. And I've been doing that longer than Lynn Wood even understood what biblical Christianity was and got saved. Now, the second thing I have to say about that is that in addition to it just being flat out silly, a Christian who believes that another Christian, especially someone they've called friend, is involved in something that is wrong, unscriptural, unbiblical, or has done something wrong in some way, the biblical thing for them to do is pick up the phone or go in person, speak to that person one-on-one and say, brother, it looks like such and such might be the case. Have you fallen into something you shouldn't be involved with? Lynn Wood has my phone number. He has called me on many occasions, most of the time just because he's lonely. But over the last year and a half, he's called me many times. He has my phone number. He could have called me this time had he thought this was actually true. But he didn't do that. And not only did he not do that, I didn't even know that he thought that it was true. I thought that there were some other people who thought it might be true, which is why I corrected it in the sermon that I preached last Sunday that won't be online until this coming Sunday. But the fact that someone would call themselves a born-again, Bible-believing Christian and then basically try to just throw something from out of nowhere when they didn't go to the person to ask, is this true? Let me ask you about this logo. How about this photograph with this handshake? Is that a Masonic handshake? Maybe I'm not familiar with Masonic handshakes. I know you did a series on it. Is that a Masonic handshake? And why are you doing it if it is? None of that transpired. Now, I'm not going to make a judgment call right now on the motive for that. But these things are worth considering by anybody that cares about what's right, cares about truth, like Mr. Lynn Wood likes to talk about a lot. And none of what I just shared with you that he expressed was true. It was either intentionally dishonest or it was willful ignorance. It did not have to be either one. Now, there are a lot of other things I'm about to deal with, but I'll deal with those in just a moment.